Well, welcome, ladies. My name is Michelle Molitor. I am your hostess for the Mostess, the founder of this Lean in Circle Wonder Women Unite. It is March 23rd, and I created this group almost 2 years ago now, hard to believe. And essentially, we are an amazing group of women executives and entrepreneurs and educators and moms and just amazing women from all over the world. Our happy little band of women has grown to, wait for it, 259 members from all over the world. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Up 7 from last month. It's all grown very organically. And so if you have other women who would be served by these kinds of conversations, it's all about support for you and your greatness and finding your voice and stepping into your power. So
Yay.
thank you for all of you for being here. And just so you know, mark your calendars. We meet, and this is an off month, a rare occasion. I was traveling last week, but we typically meet on the third Friday of every month. Same bat time, 9:30 a.m. Pacific, 12:30 noon Eastern, and then it's 5:30 UK time right now, Cindy?
4:30.
4:30, right. You guys haven't
Yeah.
gone through your time change yet, so
Yeah.
it's a little
On this Sunday.
it's a little wonky. We did 2 weeks ago, so everybody gets a little next month our call will be on April 20th.
Okay.
And the month after that, it'll be May 18th. And we have some exciting guests that are going to be coming in and speaking with us over the coming months. So like in May, for example, we have my friend and colleague Pleasance Salicki from Washington, D.C., and she'll be talking and sharing with us about planning, passion, and purpose. She's an author and teacher and speaker and mentor, and has created an amazing Thrive community around wellness and wisdom. So she's been a yoga instructor and a teacher and a principal, and just does all sorts of amazing things for women. So stay tuned for more on that. But yeah, so let's see, what other logistical things should I cover here before we dive in? If you've missed previous calls, then you can always go to my my website, Nectar Consulting. I'll put it here in the chat box. Nectar, I can't even spell, consulting.com. And under the Michelle Molitor section, you'll find a whole section for Wonder Woman Unite. So a bunch of our previous recordings are listed up there, and some of the expert hour calls as well. So there's a boatload of free resources on my website. And it's new. It just launched back in January. So it looks really pretty now. I love it.
Oh, look at it. Take a look.
Yeah, and I have a new section on there called Brain Candy, because I'm all about the brain. And I've got a boatload of free resources. So I know, Wendy, you're new to the call, so please be sure to check it out. I'm sure you will enjoy it. All right. So today, wait, one other thing. I almost forgot. This is part of the exciting things that have been going on, Cindy, for me. I have a new book, Breakthrough Healing, that's come out. It just came out last month, and it's now a bestseller already on Amazon. And this is even some of my artwork on the cover. It's similar to the one in the background. Similarly different. This one hangs in my living room outside.
Behind you.
What?
Behind you, there's an artwork.
Yes, that's my artwork. This is my artwork as well.
Nice.
Here we go.
Wow.
But it's a compilation of 6 different healers from all over the United States. And we talk about our different healing modalities and how natural medicine can be of service to folks. So I encourage you to check it out on Amazon. All of the proceeds go to St. Jude's Children's Hospital.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's kind of new and exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of a whirlwind getting that done. So today, what I wanted to talk about and have a conversation about is, what's your money story? We all have them, and they can lift us up or they can hold us down, right? So it took me a long time to pull out my money story and figure it out, and unleash it, because I've always felt like I had this kind of ceiling that I kept bumping up against, right? I get to a certain income level and then poof, I'd fall back down. And it was this kind of like, what in the world? What is it that I keep hitting? And I couldn't figure it out. To save my life, I tried every which way to Sunday to get at it, figure out what it was. And Lord knows I've done, I've probably done well over 2,000 hours worth of training and coaching and certification programs, and to be a really great coach and therapist, but also to get my own stuff out of the way, right? And so I've talked a lot about this, I've learned a lot about this, but yet for years I couldn't get past my own blocks. And so I thought, well, let's have a conversation about this, right? Because it's something we all deal with. So, how many of you have some kind of conversation that says, oh, I have to work really hard to earn money? Anybody? Or, I can earn it, but I can't keep it very well. Let's see. What are some of the other common theme songs that people have about money? I don't deserve it, or if I have too much money, then I'll be greedy, or you have to give up things that you really want in order to make the money. You can't have balance. You can't have your cake and eat it too, right? So there's a lot of different stories that we carry with us. So let me share mine with you. And then if you want, you can share yours. If it'll help spur some things. And it was always curious to me why I struggled around money, because I grew up not really wanting for anything. I grew up in an abnormally normal American family. My parents had their own businesses, and my brother and sister and I always had what we needed, right? We're very fortunate. And yet I couldn't bust out past my own barrier of really getting past a 6-figure income. And it took me years to unravel this. And it wasn't until finally I started doing this work, rapid transformational therapy, or RTT, which is essentially a new form of hypnosis, or a hybrid version of hypnosis, that had me get at and uncouple the things that I had collapsed as a child. And essentially, in a nutshell, what I finally figured out was that I had learned that love equals money, because my mom would take me shopping and buy me things. That was her love language, her way of showing me she loved me. But then I would always get shamed by my sister because I had this or that before she ever got it, because she's 5 years older than me. And so somehow love equals money equals shame all got collapsed on top of each other. And so somewhere in my subconscious, I had running, well, if I earn too much, then I'll get shamed, and then I'll lose love. And the one thing that I've always ever wanted is just to be loved, right? We all do. And so somehow it created this weird push, pull in my subconscious. And what I've learned through my work is that your mind can't hold two conflicting beliefs. So if your conscious mind says, oh yes, I can do this and I can earn this much and I can reach for the stars, but your subconscious is like, oh no, we can't do that. That's not safe. Because if you do that, then these other bad things are going to happen. So you see how that would create a conflicting belief and kind of creates this ping pong energetically effect in your brain. So once I had the aha moment, literally, it was December 22nd. I remember it very clearly. It was like, my mind exploded like, wow, okay, that makes so much sense. Everything began to shift for me, literally within weeks. It was fascinating and astounding. And so it's the interesting thing, it's just little subtle things oftentimes that happen to us in our childhood that create these decision points, and we don't even know it's happening, right? It's all happening in our subconscious, thanks to our amygdala. Your amygdala is your fight or flight mechanism in your brain, in your limbic brain. I like to call her Amy, your amygdala, and she just loves you, and she just wants to keep you safe. That's really just her sole purpose in life, is to keep you safe, right? But those decision points that we made as a 6-year-old or an 8-year-old or a 12-year-old or whatever it was are still running in your subconscious mind, because it never forgets anything. It's just like a giant memory bank up in the cloud, right? And everything that's ever happened to you is stored there. And then your conscious mind is the part that does all the feeling, the logic, the analyzing, the criticizing. All of that comes from your prefrontal cortex. So if you've got beliefs in the background, running in the background, that are in conflict what your conscious mind is doing, it's going to keep you stuck in this holding pattern, kind of swirling, right? So all of that said, the key is getting at what's stuck in your subconscious and eliminating it, which for years I couldn't get at. I knew it was there, but I didn't know what it was, and I didn't know how to get rid of it. And so it was only, and trust me, y'all, I've done every therapy healing technique known to woman, and they've all been helpful. And the RTT work was the mind-blowing shift experience for me. So my question for you is, what are some of those stories that you might be carrying around consciously? Because there's probably some more that are unconscious that you're not aware of. So go ahead and unmute yourselves and share with me, if you'd like, what might some of those be. What comes to mind?
Oh, it's interesting. Can you hear me? Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh. Very interesting topic for me, because funny enough, I think it's a subject I have always avoided, in essence, because I think as you were talking, I realized why I've always avoided it. It's something I know that I need to tackle, but it's always been at the back of my mind, because I think I just feel sometimes, I don't know, I just feel it conflicts with my Christian beliefs. So that's where the struggle is. But I know there is nothing wrong with that, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
but
right.
I haven't made time to really approach it and deal with it, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it is interesting that we're talking about it today, because in the last couple of weeks it's actually been niggling me, but I just didn't want to approach it.
Yeah. So great noticing, Cindy. Great noticing.
Yeah.
And so let me ask you this, if you share if you feel comfortable doing so, is what is what's the conflict with your Christian beliefs? Because I know that's a very important part of your life. And so this is about, how do you honor both parts of you?
Right. I think it's been. I'm laughing only because when I tell you what's going on with me today, you're going to laugh. I think it's been the fear of, of what other Christians that I know may think of me having that money, and then because I'm a custodian, am I using it right? Do you know what I mean? Am I using it well? I don't know. It's just all these things, that goes on in my head. But I know it doesn't matter. I know I shouldn't worry about what other people think or what other people's views are. But because I haven't confronted it and actually been honest with myself and saying, you know what, Cindy, I know I shouldn't worry about that. I should just go for it. This is what I want to do. And if I'm being blessed with this, and just make that commitment to my Christian walk, because at the end of the day, it's about me and the Lord. But I just haven't done that for some reason or another. Why? I don't know. I think maybe it's just been the fear of having to sit down and confront it or whatever. But I don't know. But it's something that I've actually written in my to-do list plan to say I need coaching around this area. I know that I need coaching around this area, but I just have not prioritized it. If that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Right. And so I totally get that, and that fear is what's creating I haven't quite prioritized it yet.
Yeah.
Right? Because if you really wanted to tackle it, I know that you would, without doubt. You're amazing that way. And so there's something locked in your subconscious that's like, oh, no. Something bad might happen. Fill in the blank, right? I'll be judged. I won't be liked. I'll lose love. I'll be shamed. It could be any numerous number of things, right? But one of the best quotes I've ever heard is, what other people think of you is none of your business.
So true,
right?
That is so true.
We let it run us, don't we?
But it does, doesn't it? The bad brother, I call him, or the bad brother, and you've got the good brother and the bad brother. The bad brother just keeps niggling at me, and I think the safest place for me at that time, so the safest thing for me was just to ignore him and just say, I'm bearing you because at the moment I'm not tackling with you. I've got other things I'm dealing with.
Right.
So now having this conversation, I think, is going to have to be prioritized because you've now made that surface to the point of saying, yeah, it's something that I need to deal with. Because now just looking at everything else that's going on, I think it's actually a hindrance. When I actually think I've been doing okay, I think it's actually been hindering me because I haven't dealt with that.
Right. Well, here's the thing, Miss Cindy, is that by avoiding it, you're only keeping yourself in a box, right?
Yeah.
And when we allow ourselves to face our fears, they usually shrink. Right?
That's right.
Shrink to the nothingness that they really are.
That's right.
Which enables you to soar to new heights, the place that you know you can be, that you want to be, by just letting go of the story.
That's right. You're right.
You're right. So here's my request for you. Here's your homework assignment, if you're willing to take it, is to just take some time today and write out, what's my story around money? What do I really?
It'll be done.
What do I really believe? Right. So, I received a request from Wendy to share, and I'm not technologically sophisticated enough to how to pause the recording and turn the recording back on, and it might blow it up, I'm afraid. So can you share the parts of it that you are comfortable with? Because I want to honor you in that way. but answer any questions you have too.
Yeah, sure. So my background is technology, so I know that anything that if we're recording it and putting on the internet, it's gonna be forever. So that's my fear, and that's why, you know, I made that request. But I can share, you know, what I
share whatever you feel comfortable with. I appreciate that.
You know, and I you know, appreciate the recording. I think it's helpful because this is some kind of conversation that sometimes like we don't talk about it, right? We don't talk about it enough or publicly, or realize that other people have the same, you know, are in the same situation like we are. We just, you know.
Yeah. Well, there tends to be a lot of shame around the money conversation. We're kind of taught that way, and I carried that around for a very long time myself. And I've learned to let go of my shame because it's not mine to carry, right?
Yeah, and I'm actually I'm a professionally trained coach too.
Oh, great.
Yeah, from ICF. So I've done some work with money, although it's always an ongoing thing. You know, it's always, it changes. The relationship with money was different from how our parents, like my parents, don't talk about money much. I come from Asian family, so it's very much of like they will take care of everything. I don't know what happened. Like I just know that I get red envelope, you know, almost like a Christmas gift in a way with money. But I never see them, even though it was given to me and they say they will do something. But, you know, of course, we as a parent know, you know, goes into the diapers and the education stuff that we do. But for me, it's like, it's sort of like magic that they like, it just happens. Like it's behind the scene and I know I'm protected, I'm safe. I'm lucky enough to get a corporate job, you know, a really good salary. And I'm lucky enough to leave the corporate and then to go become an entrepreneur and getting clients. So I feel like my story about money, it's like, it's there if I need it, but most of the time I don't care so much to go for it because, you know, it's there. It's almost like insurance. It's like, if I need it, I know I can get it, but it's almost like air. Like I don't think about it at all. Like I don't plan much. You know, my husband and I have a very different story about money. Like he's a good planner. He counts every cent. And I'm like, we make enough, like it's okay, you know. But it's very it's different when we're on the same page, which is another story, right? Like, so for me, money is right now the part I'm at is like I've made enough, I save enough, so I'm entrepreneurial. I have a distant relationship with money, if you can say it that way. Like I have a distant, like I know that we save enough, but I don't check it monthly. I don't check it weekly. I don't check it daily. I'm like,
No, that's great. And I certainly appreciate that. My story is similar in some respects. Like I've always known that I have that support from my family if I need it. And it's taken me a long time to shift the muscle around really being mindful of my money, and nurturing it, fostering it. Money is just energy, right? And when I was able to make the shift in my thinking, like, oh, there's no shame. If we let go of the emotional attachment to it, it's no different than a pen, right? It's just a utensil that you use on the daily. And it comes and it goes, right? And when we can let go of that emotional charge around it, good, bad, or indifferent, then it can become a more powerful force in a good way in our lives, right? So, I wanted to, let's see, I wanted to do a little exercise with you guys. And this is from the book of a colleague of mine. Her name is Lucy McGonigal. I can't ever pronounce her last name. And it's called Magical Money Manifestations, a Practical and Spiritual Guide for Manifesting More Money, More Freedom, and More Joy. She's amazing and lovely. And I thought it would be fun to kind of do this exercise with you guys. So if you have a piece of paper, or you can type on your computer while we're here, that works too. But I'm gonna ask a couple of questions, and I just want you to kind of do a gut check and like, what's the first response that comes to mind, and just write that down. Okay.
Yeah.
So first question. When you were growing up, what lessons did you learn about money from your mother? In other words, what types of experience did she have, and what choices did she make? Or what was her perception about money, and how did she manage it or not manage it? So when you were growing up, what lessons did you learn about money from your mother? And then next question is, when you were growing up, what lessons did you learn about money from your father? What experience and choices did he make around money? What was his perception of it, how he managed it or didn't manage it? And then noticing, did your parents argue about money? Did they talk about it, not talk about it? What was the atmosphere around money in your household growing up? And did that differ than messages about money you might have received from your aunts or uncles or grandparents? So what are you noticing? Who would like to share?
Okay, I'll go. The first question, what my again, it's not something I had even thought about until just now. I'm noticing mum being more cautious. She was tight, but tight with it, but managed to ensure that we had everything we needed. You know, only later on I've written it was years later on I realized she was actually a planner, a saver, and an investor. And then dad was different. Dad worked hard, but he gave freely. You know, I actually got my pocket money from my dad. And the third question is that it was nothing. It was never talked about. It's just something that happened. It was never talked about. And then the last question is, growing up within the larger family circle, there was always many arguments and conflicts regarding money. Back.
So how do you think all of that influenced your adult money story and reality?
Wow. Because I'd never really took time to think about it. I'm actually seeing a lot.
Yeah.
I am seeing there's part of me that gives freely. You know, no matter how much or how little I have, that's because of the relationship I have with my dad. We're very close. And then, so I think, yeah, there is two sides. I think there is that giving freely part, but then there is also the conflict that comes with the issues I've already shared, and the wanting to be the wiser, you know, planner, saver, investor, if that makes sense. So yeah. Wow. But I just haven't put it all together.
Yeah, no, that's okay. That's okay. I can see all the wheels turning, right? And like, I'm going to have to chew on this for a little while.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Cindy, for sharing. Wendy, how about you? What are you noticing from what you wrote down?
Similar with what I said before. My dad had a business. Well, he's quite an entrepreneur and had multiple business, and he would lose money and then gain it back. You know, he will lose in wine importing, but then make money in real estate. And then so for me, I learned to be a risk taker, and that losing money is not a big deal. It's which is sometimes, now I think about it, it's like, that's interesting. You know, it should be a pretty big deal. How about not losing your money? But for me, it kind of I think the interesting thing is taking away that fear of not having money, because we're immigrant with $500 in our pocket. Wow. And made it okay. Like, it's seriously, like, we came here with, you know, like, no money. So it's interesting. I feel like it's like we hit rock bottom and then come up and then lose and up. Like, it doesn't need to be a roller coaster ride, but it is. And I wonder, maybe I feel that way, or I feel like, oh, that's normal, which is not normal. But the questions that you said when they argue about the money or what's the environment, I honestly don't know, because we don't have that conversation at home for 20 years that I was growing up. Like, I want to change our relationship with my daughter. We start teaching her what quarter is and cents. Like, you know, she's 2.
It's good to start early.
Yeah, she's 2, and I'm teaching her about, like, savings, and, you know, in the future, I think it helps me, the lack of education I got from my parents or from the school. I'm very conscious about teaching her about money, about investing, about saving, about compounding interest, and about not using credit cards and all that. So, you know, Yeah. But I
Oh.
seriously don't know. Like, I don't know what my mom's relationship with it, and I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate that. It's interesting because my parents have owned multiple businesses together and have been business partners their whole marriage. They've been next year they'll been married 60 years, right? They're both just turned 80. They're darling. And yeah, money was never talked about. I earned an allowance. And the messages I got from my mother was, we have enough. We can go shopping every Saturday, right? That's what we did. That was our time together. But my dad was always like, you have to work hard. You have to earn it. You got to come out in the yard and pull weeds and I'll pay you 10 cents a bucket. Right. So again, it was this conflicting messages about how to be around money. But at the same time, I was never educated about it. They never talked about it. They never said, here's how you balance your checkbook. Here's what you do. I'll never forget. I was a freshman in college and my idea of balancing my checkbook was going to the ATM machine. What's my balance? until I bounced a check. And my mother, like one of the first times in my life, went ballistic on me. I have 20 accounts I have to balance and you can't balance yours. And I was like, "Ah!" Right? Because no one ever yelled in my house either.
Mm-hmm.
There was never any yelling. There was never any fighting. Everything was all very tampered, right? Even if there was unhappiness, it was all very muted. And so I didn't realize this until much, much later, like, oh, wow, that really left a big in my subconscious about, oh, right, I'm not good with money. I don't know how to use it. I don't know how to manage it, right? And that created its own set of fears for me for a really, really long time. So it's amazing what these seemingly inconsequential conversations that happened in our early days in our lives created the patterns for the rest of our lives, right? And how we think about it, how we feel about it, how we manage it, how we talk about it or don't, right? And it impacts, has a ripple effect in all other areas of our lives. I find it really interesting, Wendy, that even though your family had these ups and downs, you're just like, it's all good, right? It's always going to be there. I don't have a problem with that. And
I have an interesting story to share when you're ready.
No, please go right ahead.
Yeah, because you said that about the up and down, and I'm like, it's there because I remember I wanted to get, like American culture, you earn, right? Newspaper, grass, dishes, you get money.
Mm-hmm.
We don't. I wanted to earn money. I want to get a job. I wanted to find something to do. My parents are like, no, it's too dangerous for you. Actually, that's the message.
Oh, very interesting.
Dangerous for you to go out to the world in the real society to do something. We got you, right? Like, we protect you. So I remember my first real job that I was proud was English tutor. That's safe enough. I'm like, I'm teaching English, to kids, and I'm making money. And I made money, and I went to the post office, which is, for us, it's like a bank too. They also, can store, save money there. I got my checkbook, and I was so excited, and I didn't even tell my parents because I felt like, I don't know what they're gonna think. I don't know, what it is. I'm just like, I'm making money on my own, and it's scary. I think at that time it felt like I was not on the same planet as my parents, even though it's English tutoring, but I didn't know what to do. Like, I'm just like, I got the money, I put it in the bank, but now what? It's like,
great. Now what?
Should I not? Like,
So I'm curious, did you ever tell your parents that you did that?
There's a lot of things that they don't tell me that I don't tell them.
Interesting. Very, very interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just, the human psyche just fascinates me. It's just like, wow, okay, this dot connects to this dot, creates this dot way over here. Like, okay, wow. And so the good news is, even though we have all the stuff that we gathered along our way in our own life experience, all these stories, all these beliefs, all these preconceived notions about what money is or what it isn't, or how to be with it or not be with it, how do we talk about it, not talk about it, we have the opportunity, the ability to change. We always have the ability to change our minds, right? It's all about neuroplasticity. And so I love so much, Wendy, that you're already, working with your little daughter and showing her and helping her learn, because, money is at the heart of everything that everyone does, how we exist and move through the world. And yet all through K through 12, and I worked in education for 11 years, no one talks about it. Same thing. Right. Same culture. No one talks about money. They don't teach kids how to manage it, how to utilize it. You'd think that in high school they would be like, okay, here's money 101. Here's how you balance your checkbook. Here's how you save. This is what credit cards really do.
Right.
And do that. It just, it blows my mind.
And interest and all that, right?
Right. Absolutely. So,
it's interesting, by the way, to see when I try to teach my daughter, 2-year daughter, something about money, and I have my mom, who's traditional Asian mom, who is like, what are you doing? Like, no, like, don't do that. Like, why? Money's dirty. Like, it's too early. Like, don't, like, it. I hear, I sense the resistance from her.
Yeah.
My in-laws, who are Caucasian Americans, are like, like, my husband will be like, oh, ask grandma if she has changes for your teddy bank. And I'm just like, and my mom actually thinks that's like bad. It's like, why do you teach her to ask for money? I don't know. It's just
so that's really fascinating. You have this really conflicting beliefs between the two different cultures, which, every culture is different, and how they manage that. And it was really poignant. Your mom said it's dirty. Mm-hmm. Right? Mm-hmm. But it's not. It's just like a pen. It's just a tool that you use, and you can call it a dirty black pen or a beautiful black pen, right? It doesn't matter, but it's your perception of it that makes it good or bad. We're meaning making machines. You guys both know this. But
from Landmark?
Yeah. I'm a former Landmarkian. I did about a year. That's what actually helped me become a coach.
Got it. We should connect more.
Yeah, absolutely.
The 3 courses.
Yeah, in my former life, I was a creative director in web development, and a friend of mine was like, hey, come to this thing. I'm graduating. I'm like, okay. And I showed up, and it was a room of like 300 people, and everybody was like, ah! I was like, I'll have what they're having, because I'm miserable right now. And
you're open-minded. For a lot of people might be like, this is a cult, so.
Well, it's funny. When I graduated from I guess it was the forum, the initial one, I actually invited my parents to come, who live on the East Coast. And my dad flew across the country to join me.
Wow.
So that was a big deal. And then we went, and as we were driving into the parking lot, I remember saying to him, so I'm really curious to hear your experience of this when we're done. Right? Because I know there's those different beliefs about it. Oh, it's amazing, wonderful work, and oh, it's a cult, right? It's not a cult. It's just it's a way to learn about yourself.
Yes.
And the way that they do their marketing is a particular kind of way that can have its own positive or negative interpretation.
It kind of drives up things on purpose. That's what I describe it.
Right. And my dad afterwards was like, did you know this was going to be a sales pitch? I'm like, no. I didn't. And, you know, it just like, it completely turned him off. And he never talked to me about it ever again. That was fascinating, right? So I'm the weird one in the family that's done great googly gobs of personal development, and no one else has. But that's how I am. So, right? We all have our
I
way.
feel the same way. I you know, my husband in finance, you know, yeah. For him, it's like, what, coaching?
Yeah.
Strange.
So I wanted to pull up a screenshot of this this little tool, and I can email this to you, everybody, as well. Let me do a screen share here. Again, this is from Lucy's book, and it's a simple tool to help you kind of notice what your thoughts are, right? So I call it, are you above the line or below the line? So noticing your thoughts as you go throughout the day, whether it's about money or anything else for that matter. So what's the thought? And then is it a positive thought or a negative thought? And does it make you feel happy or sad, right? So above the line, I think of it as the line as the water line, right? So if you're above the water line, you're content, you're happy, you're excited, you're joyful, you're radiant, you're madly in love, right? And as the further you go up, the higher your vibration gets, right? And then below the line is sad, depressed, angry, and then everything else, right? And the lower you go, the more low your vibration gets as well, right? And so you get to just to start to notice, where are my thoughts throughout the day? Are they more of the time above the line or more of the time below the line? Because with that noticing, then you can be like, okay, what do I need to start shifting? And sometimes it might be just a little baby steps, right? I'm going to go from depressed to melancholy to, you know, discontent to neutral to, okay, I'm somewhat entertained. I'm happy. Oh, I'm feeling really, really great, right? It's hard to go from a low state to a really high state. You have to usually do it in increments. But I've done this often with my clients, and they'll come back like, wow, I spent actually a lot of my time below the line. I need to shift that, right? It creates that sense of awareness for them. You had a question, Wendy?
Yeah, is this like a yes, no checkbox, or is like a rating?
It would just be like a tick, right? Just to check. Like, yes, that was a positive thought, or it was a negative thought. It made me feel happy. It made me feel sad, right?
Okay.
You can just start to see. But the thought column here is like, what was the thought that stopped me and brought me to that level of consciousness? Like, oh, wow, I'm noticing I'm really angry right now about XYZ. So that's a negative thought, and it wasn't sad, it was angry. Or, you know, I saw something on television that took me down and made me cry. Oh, that's a sad thought. So you just get to create the tick marks. And so then at the end of the week, you can go, do I have more tick marks in the positive column or more tick marks in the negative column?
Cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
And then these are two different articles, blog posts that I wrote. And again, I'll send you these links. I'll just put them in the chat box here too. Where's my chat box? Chats. Oh, I need to.
You have to close that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to close that. All right, stop the share. There we go. There are two different blog posts. Oops, let me do that to everyone. Sorry. Did those come through? Maybe they didn't come through. Oh well, my chat's being weird. Anyway, I'll email them to you. One is called On Being Enough. And the second one is, are you above or below the line? And so that one actually talks about what we were talking about here. And then the other one, On Being Enough, is noticing where are you feeling enough or not feeling enough. And I have a chart in there, an exercise that you can do to help you shift your thinking So what's the negative thought? If the thought is, oh, I'm not good enough. Well, asking yourself, what's the complete opposite of that? Well, I am good enough. But then noticing in your body where you're feeling around that. So if we come back to the money conversation, the thought might be, oh, I'm really bad with money. And then the opposite of that would be, well, I'm good with money. But your body might be going, no, I don't agree with that. So you have to find the increments in between that you can sit with and hold in your essence and try it on for a little while, right? Because it's all about shifting your perceptions about those thoughts that you have that are negative and aren't serving you anymore. Because when you can notice them, then that's when you have the power to start shifting them. Does that make sense?
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what questions or takeaways do you have from our conversation today?
I've got a few. Number one, it was a nice first time meeting here with you guys all.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Michelle, for sharing a lot of your insights. I actually wrote down what other things of you is none of your business. I think that's going to be my quote on the social media today, right? Cool. And it's cool that you say about that cultural difference and different generation stuff that get me, think a little bit more. It's like I have to really care about what my mom think or my in-laws, and spend a little bit time to not just be like, oh well, this is just how I do it. Like, she probably will feel not safe or something, when I say the word dirty, like for her it might be something. So I want to be a good daughter, help her understand why I want to do that, and maybe have a conversation about money too, since she and I don't talk about money.
Yeah, that would be very brave. I would applaud you and root you on from over here, and let me know how that goes.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I think for me, it's about dealing with this elephant in the room.
Big pink one. I can see it back there behind you.
Wow. I mean, for me, it's just shared. Yeah. Like I said, it's something that I've been locking away, and it's suddenly just opened its doors. It's got to be dealt with, I think. Yeah.
Well, so I have this great tea that I love. It's called Positive Energy Tangerine Tea, and they come with little messages from the universe. And so this one is appropriate for you, Cindy. It says, be giving, forgiving, compassionate, and loving.
Say that again.
Be giving, forgiving, compassionate, and loving. So I'd invite you both to be compassionate with yourselves about your own money stories, good, bad, and different. This isn't about beating yourself up or I should have done something differently. You're beautiful. You're perfect just the way you are. And you've learned what you've learned. And now you get to bring more consciousness to it. Love yourself and decide what you need to let go of and what new ideas you need to embrace that serve you in your growth, and allowing yourself to thrive, because I'm a big believer that you can have your cake and eat it too, right? You can have a beautiful life and have plenty of money. You can have a wonderful career and love what you do and do what you love, right? Get paid well to do it. And any of the guilt, the shame, the worry, the fear, any of that story that you have tied to money, I encourage you and everyone who's listening to let it go and find a new story, rewrite it, right? Yeah. One of the fun things I get to do with my clients when I have them in hypnosis is help them rewrite the story, because your mind doesn't know what is real or what you tell it.
Yeah.
So you were told that money is dirty. You get to rewrite the story now. And money is great. Money is energy. Money brings joy and safety. And flip it so that it has a positive meaning for you that you can then move forward with and release any of the negative story that might have been given to you by others, right? We often are carrying around the pain, the suffering, the story of others in our lives. That's really not ours to carry. And so we get to lay it down and pick up something that's new and empowering for us. So, all right.
I like that. Yeah, I like that. Thank you.
All right. Well, I'm so delighted to have had this conversation with you all here today. It's always my joy to facilitate these conversations, and we'll be getting it posted up on the website here over the weekend. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. And as always, I'm open to chatting. So if you'd like to have just a virtual coffee chat or a virtual tea chat, just shoot me an email at michelle@nectarconsulting.com. And we can find a time to have a Zoom call and just get to know each other a little better. I'm always delighted to meet the ladies of the Wonder Women Unite tribe that literally from every corner of the planet. We have a lot of the continents covered these days. It's really, really cool. So
amazing.
Please, Wendy, if you haven't already, join us in the Facebook group too. We have an online private Facebook group. So just look up Wonder Unite with an exclamation point and look for us there and join the conversation there too.
Sounds good.
All right, ladies. So I will hopefully see you on April 20th, our next call, and be on the lookout for emails from me, and we'll go from there. All right?
All right.
Thank you.
All right. Blessings.
Thanks, Michelle. Thank you.
See you soon. Bye.